Welcome back, you guys. Your boy CK. Now, for the longest time, I've always thought that the only way to decide who is actually the best quarterback is to give them the same exact supporting cast and see who does the best with them. Now, I know Madden, it's not always consistent. Sometimes you'll have simulations where a guy like Mitch Trubisky will win MVP. You'll have simulations when Tom Brady throws like 50 interceptions. It doesn't always make sense, but it's the best we got. Okay, so today I'm gonna see what happens if we give every single quarterback in the NFL the same weapons to work with. Let's find out who's the best. Now, I know a lot of you guys play MUT, and sometimes you don't feel like grinding to get the best teams. So if you want to just buy some training or coins or players, head on over to MUTreserve.com. Use my code CK, and not only will you be rich one day, but you'll also get 15% off your order. So we're going to begin this one, of course, on the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the team that every single quarterback is going to be traded to. I mean, you got one of the best coaches of all time, Big Red Andy Reid. I don't care what you say, Le'Veon, he's goated. First quarterback up in this experiment, Patrick Mahomes. He's already won a Super Bowl with the supporting cast. Most of the names are still here. At running back, these quarterbacks are going to get Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon, and Darrell Williams. It's going to be a very strong running game because they upgraded their offensive line a lot. Orlando Brown Jr. came over from the Ravens. They have two-time Super Bowl champion Joe Thuney, who came over from the Patriots. They also got Kyle Long to come out of retirement. So now everyone on the O-line is at least a 76 overall or higher. The quarterbacks are going to get to play with one of the best tight ends in the NFL, Travis Kelce. Not to mention Tyreek and Mecole Hardman, easily the fastest duo in the NFL. So I feel like this was a great team to do this experiment with. If you guys are new around here and you haven't already subscribed, please do so. It takes 2 seconds and it's free. Now let's start the experiment. Mahomes took his team to an 11-5 record, first in the division. Gonna record all of his stats and put them in a chart. And then at the end of this experiment, we're gonna find out who was the best in each category. But this is how Mahomes was able to do, and his team was able to do with him as the leader. He was this close to winning MVP. Cam Newton took that from him. He also took OPOY from him and best QB, but he was able to get his team all the way to the AFC Championship game. They ended up losing 28-35, close game versus the Ravens. Mahomes was damn near flawless. He did his thing. So all in all, this is probably going to end up one of the better seasons of this experiment. Next quarterback up is going to be Tom Brady. Somehow the Chiefs went from an 84 overall to an 81, and there's only a 3 overall difference at quarterback. So Brady is able to lead his team to a 13-3 record, 2 games better than Mahomes. He threw for the same amount of interceptions as Mahomes, 2 less touchdowns, and over 200 less passing yards. He ended up 6th in MVP voting, so no one has won the award yet. But he did win OPOY, and he won best QB. But just like Mahomes, he was not able to win a Super Bowl, even with a first-round bye. They ended up losing in the divisional round. The Titans and Tannehill were just too much for Brady and the Chiefs. But still, that was a solid season, I would say. So next up, we're looking at Russell Wilson. Even though he's a lower overall than Brady, somehow the overall of the team is higher and the offense. Another phenomenal season. 12-4, first in the division again. However, his stats weren't as amazing as Brady or Mahomes, but he did do slightly better on the ground. Tannehill ends up getting MVP. Wilson doesn't get in the top 10. Actually, not too surprised. I mean, he didn't have the best stats, but he was top 10 for OPOY. So now if he wants to be in a conversation for the best season, he has to find a way to win the Super Bowl. They got a first round bye, but they beat the Browns in the divisional round before losing only by 6 to the Ravens in a conference championship. However, his performance wasn't as good as Mahomes' was, but he went just as far as Patrick, so it wasn't a terrible season. Next up is Aaron Rodgers. Same overall as Russell Wilson, 83. Wait a minute, that's the worst season we've seen so far. 8-8. Rodgers and the Chiefs didn't even make the playoffs, and he didn't have the best stats during the regular season. He didn't win any awards either. Just all around not the best season. But you can just chalk this one up to Madden being weird. Now we're gonna look at Lamar Jackson. Imagine him and Tyreek Hill on the field on the same offense. Chiefs are back in the playoffs thanks to Lamar. They finished 9-7. This is the second most yards we've seen from a quarterback so far, but it's also the most interceptions. And I was expecting a little bit more in terms of rushing, but he ends up in the top 4 for MVP, top 3 for OPOY, and top 3 for best QB. They win the wild card round 35-14, but then lose in the divisional round 23-38 to the Denver Broncos, led by Teddy Bridgewater. Lamar had a good game, but it was not enough. Now we're looking at Deshaun Watson. This time the Chiefs go 6-10. What happened with Deshaun Watson on this team? I have no idea. Gonna chalk it up to Madden once again because I don't know. Watson's too good to go 6-10 with a supporting cast like this. Let's see if Josh Allen can help the Chiefs bounce back. And bounce back is exactly what they did. He helps them go 10-6, second in the division. Not sure what happened with the passing yards, but he still threw for a lot of touchdowns and a lot of interceptions. But he also rushed for the most yards so far by any quarterback. He ended up top 10 for OPOY and top 7 for best QB. But even though they made the playoffs, they end up losing in the wild card round 21-24 to the Jaguars. So not the best season we've seen so far. Now we're on to the 8th highest overall quarterback, Dak Prescott. I'm going to show the top 10 quarterbacks. I think that's what we're going to do. And then after that, we're only going to show the ones that, you know, make it to the Super Bowl, if any, because right now, I mean, no one has made it. We'll see if Dak can be the first. So Dak gets them to an 8-8 record, but they still somehow make the playoffs. Threw for a good amount of yards, a lot of touchdowns, but also the most interceptions. The only award he was in contention for was best QB. He ends up number 7. He takes the Chiefs team to the divisional round when they ended up losing 20-17 versus the Browns. I'd say this was a solid season for Dak. Not the best season we've seen so far, but definitely not the worst. Ryan Tannehill is up next. The Chiefs with Tannehill at quarterback go 4-12. By far the worst we've seen. The one bright spot of the season is that he tied for the most rushing touchdowns of any quarterback so far. But that's about the only good thing from this simulation for Tannehill. And now we're going to see how Matt Ryan does in Kansas City. From the worst season to possibly the best so far, Matt Ryan and company go 13-3. Now his raw stats weren't spectacular. Less than 4,000 yards. Tied for the most interceptions thrown. He was in contention for best QB. Ended up 8th in the AFC. I'm a little bit shocked, however, that they lost in the divisional round to the Buffalo Bills 13-7. I was expecting more from Matty Ice. I'm not gonna lie.
2 hours later.
So we've just finished simulating for all 32 starting quarterbacks in the league. And here are the results. There was only one quarterback that was able to win any awards, and that was Tom Brady. Now as for passing yards, top 3 ended up being Baker, who had 4,500. Mahomes was second with 4,487, and then Lamar was third with 4,419. As for pass touchdowns, Mahomes had the most with 39. Brady was second with 37, and third was a tie between Josh Allen and Derek Carr. Zach Wilson for the Jets threw the least amount of interceptions with 5. Mahomes, Brady, and Deshaun Watson tied for the second least with 6. And then Fitzmagic and Sam Darnold threw for the third least with 7. Dak Prescott threw the most with 17. Mahomes, Brady, and Matt Ryan had the best completion percentage at 69. Baker had the second best at 68. And then Wilson, Joe Burrow, and Cam Newton had the third best at 67. Josh Allen had the most rushing yards with 315. Russell Wilson had the second most at 246. And then Lamar and Watson had the third most at 239. Cam Newton had the most rushing touchdowns at 4. And then there were a lot of quarterbacks that had 3 and a lot of quarterbacks that had 2. Now as for team record, Tom Brady and Matt Ryan were the only 2 to go 13-3. Russell Wilson and Cam Newton were the only 2 quarterbacks to take the Chiefs to 12-4. Now I'm sad to reveal that no quarterback was able to take the Chiefs supporting cast to the Super Bowl, but there were 7 quarterbacks that got to the conference championship and lost. That was Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Baker, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Joe Burrow, and Jimmy G. Debate amongst yourselves who had the best season with this supporting cast. If you asked me to choose one, I would probably have to say Brady, because the regular season, I mean, he went 13-3, really good touchdown interception ratio. I mean, he's the only one to win any awards. But you could argue Mahomes, you could argue maybe Cam. Either way, hopefully you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please destroy the like button. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you guys on the next one.